I'm Elizabeth Hashagen. Today is Veterans Day, a day set aside to honor and celebrate military veterans who have given so much for our country.
I think we especially want to inspire young kids to appreciate what veterans have done.
We have a shared experience, regardless of when you served, at which war you fought in. There's still barriers and things you have to get over.
We owe them an incredible debt that can never be fully repaid, and each year we honor generations of patriots on November 11th, because on the 11th hour of the 11th day in the 11th month of 1918, World War I hostilities ceased between the Allied powers and Germany. In every generation, America's veterans have been willing to give all for our freedom, justice, and democracy. Today, we are joined live by Lonnie Sherman. He's the founder and president of General Needs. The nonprofit focuses on helping thousands of veterans and their families through your charitable donations and support, and their mission focuses on providing the basic necessities that are missing in the everyday lives of our homeless veterans. Now, do remember, we want to hear from you. You can join this conversation. We answer your questions and air your comments, so you can submit them now under the live stream of this show on our Facebook pages. So, Lonnie, I know the two of us have been talking quite a bit about the issues that are facing our country and our area today. What have you seen firsthand?
Well, first of all, thank you, Elizabeth, for that wonderful intro. You don't even need me anymore. You did everything. It's honoring our veterans. It's the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th minute. The war that was supposed to end all wars. Thank you. And that's why we're talking on this special day and trying to honor the men and women that have served this country, wonderful country of ours, the United States of America. And I'm really, thank you very much for allowing me to be here with you guys. It's an honor. Thank you. And
you've seen that, so many of our veterans are in need. I know your story started, this journey that you've now become, such a huge part of this nonprofit, being the founder and the president. But it all started in such an interesting way. Would you share with everyone at home how that is?
Started meeting one of my local heroes, Dr. Ray Muscolo, who's a dentist in East Northport. I'm working a trade show. I'm a financial person by trade. And he said, give me all your stuff. I go feed homeless veterans at the Northport VA every single month. We meet at the Knights of Columbus. We make a wonderful dinner, and we really support our vets. And I said, what do you mean? It didn't add up in my head that homelessness and vets made sense to be together. So I started joining Dr. Ray. It's an honor to be there with him, but I'm really bad at serving dinner. And I started sitting down and talking, and we're a little bit younger population than I'm going to talk about 14 years ago. Recently back from Afghanistan and Iraq, my wife would sit there with me, and we met these young men and women. We wanted to take them home. They were 23, 24 years old at that point. We started talking. What's up, guys? What do you really need? And you hear the Bombas commercials and different commercials. They say socks, and that's really needed. But underwear, surprising enough, was the number one need. Because we all donate clothes. You get bigger, you get smaller. You go to one of those boxes. You drop your clothes off at a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, but nobody donates their old underwear or socks. And thank God, right? We're not doing that. So Susan and I and our family and friends, we just started buying enough underwear and T-shirts and socks, putting them in Trader Joe's paper bags because we had to sort them out for the 40, 45 vets that were there. And we brought that up as often as we could, probably 2-3 times a year. And it just kept building as I took up more space in my house to buy more underwear or more socks. And
now the work that you do is so much more than that. And you know, it's really just evolved, including this, I found one of the projects that you do so interesting, this boot project that has even evolved within itself. Talk to us about the boot project.
We started again at it was a Salvation Army unit of homeless vets in Northport, and it was November around this time, a little bit later. And the woman running the shelter at the time, I'm getting ready to come up with my shopping bag of underwear. And she said, hey, the guys are walking around with flip-flops. What can we do? So I actually met some people from Rotary and other organizations, and great Rotary Club. We went to college, and we picked all the shelves that they have of the winter boots. We handed out probably about 45, 50 pair of winter boots that year. And 5 of the vets that were living at the shelter, guess what? They got jobs.
Wow.
With a pair of boots, we didn't spend $500,000 to do a survey to figure out how to get somebody a job. We gave them something they needed to get that job. So I kept, if you kind of know me, I just keep wanting to do more and more. It evolved the following year through a wonderful concert we would do with Big Shot at the Paramount, which you guys all need to attend. It's a blast. We did 300 pair, then we did 500, and we kept evolving the number. And I've been to many events recently where we've talked about vet suicide, and I've seen some reports, positive, negative, on growth. But the number that we're just going to go by the common statistic, that 22 a day. We've seen the push-up events.
Sure.
Between November and December, 1,342 vets will commit suicide in this country. So we will hand out between November 1 and December 31st, 1,342 pair of boots from Maine to Washington, D.C. We've probably done a third of that already. I'm leaving for Maine on Monday. My wife, Susan, today is in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Last night, we were in the Denison building with the Suffolk County Executive and PSE&G and Home Depot and Moonjumpers and other organizations. We probably saw 130 vets that were in need in Suffolk County. They got a brand new coat and some socks and underwear with Cavanter, and the smiles on the faces when they were walking out knowing they had a new coat and a brand new pair of boots were, that for me was what really Veterans Day is all about.
Right.
You know,
yeah, I want to listen to Terry weigh in here about Veterans Day and what it's like.
We give up so much of our time to defend the democracy of this country. When we come back, it's kind of discouraging when we don't have our own space or we're misunderstood. So I think that it's important for us to just pretty much just show at the least appreciation.
You know, and as she was just saying there, you know, to show at the least appreciation, but also, you know, mentioning to have their place. And unfortunately, you've done so much work with veterans that are homeless. My state.
All over the place. In Northport and Brooklyn and the Bronx and Riverhead. There are homeless shelters for veterans all over Long Island, in neighborhoods that you would never believe that they would be. Sometimes you pass a house and you'll see an American flag in front, and you'll see a couple of people hanging out. That's a homeless shelter that has to kind of be hidden in neighborhoods because nobody really wants it in their own neighborhood. So, but I think we need to do more. It's been humbling what we've seen, and people living in underpasses under the Meadowbrook Parkway or in parks and being moved around. In Riverhead by the aquarium, if you go out in the marshes, a couple of years ago, there was an encampment of homeless vets there. Everywhere you can imagine.
Yeah, and especially now as we come into, you know, what will eventually be colder temperatures. You know, luckily we've been having this mild fall, but it really resonates to say, you know, this is no place to live.
Yeah. I think we need to do better as a country. Okay, I think we need to do more for these men and women. That, you know, we were chatting a little bit before this event, and thank you for your grandfather, who World War II veteran. It's a man who saved the world, everybody. We have to do more, and we do that. I got a lot of criticism when I started this organization. Why are you doing this? Do something else. If it's not to us, who's going to do it?
Right, and I know one of the projects that you work on is the welcome home aspect of this, where it's, you know, beds and housewares and, you know, small appliances and things of that nature, shower curtains even.
Everything. So about 6-7 years ago, my wife and I was called because there was a veteran that we knew who went through a shelter system, and he went through it all. Here's a veteran. He was a Vietnam vet whose wife passed away from pancreatic cancer. And that was very quick, as we know this. And a lot of his issues came out during that process. And he actually closed the door of his house and left and lived in the woods, lived in his car. And some wonderful people at the VA got him to come out of that, you know, outside environment and come into the shelter system. And he went through the shelter systems and emergency to transitional, which is a process for the whole thing to make that happen. And through that process, there's a program called HUD-VASH. And HUD-VASH will help the veterans through government programs get their own apartments at a very reduced rate. But you get this apartment with nothing in it. So Sue and I met this first gentleman, and he was sleeping on a cot and he had a blanket. And he used old boxes as tables in his house so he had some McDonald's food over, you know, because it's easy to afford. And we got him a bed. And that was the first one we did. And then we brought him pots and pans. We brought him other items that he needed. it made a difference in his life. So we said, wow, he has a chance now to succeed again on his own and not go back into a shelter. And we've been doing about 50 or 60 of those a year, where we partner with mattress firm and we pay for these things on a reduced rate. They deliver the mattresses and the box springs or whatever the vets need to get started. But then we give the social workers that help them get this apartment an opportunity to join us at our warehouse, which is at Westies in East Northport. And they pick up everything they need, kind of like a kid going to college. You know, you get the toaster and the sheets and the other items and the coffee pot and I just actually caught the Black Friday sale at Walmart and bought a whole ton of coffee pots. And everything they need to kind of get going, the pots and the pans and the dishes. It gives them a chance to feel like they matter. And that's what it's all about, not leave them alone in the corner. Welcome to the neighborhood. I remember when I was a kid, you'd have a new neighborhood come in and you bring them a box of salt. Salt was kind of the thing. And we kind of do that now as a welcoming opportunity. And for us, it's a gift. It's a gift for us. It's not really a gift for them. It's a thank you to them. But it's been a privilege to help these men and women out that, again, served our country and kind of like got
absolutely
left behind.
Right. And especially, obviously we're having this conversation on Veterans Day, but we also know that there are families who will be shining these green lights out there. So local veterans know they are seen, they're appreciated, they're supported, and a lot of people going out there getting those green light bulbs to show their support. So on news12.com right now, we also have a guide for services for veterans and for their families, and also some important ones for kids to help them navigate through some tough topics.